Welcome back to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Kristie.
And I'm Josh. We've got some more great Reddit stories for you today, so let's jump into the first one.
Am I overreacting? Neighbor apparently spies on me when my husband is away.
I mean, that's not great, and the fact that they're waiting until your husband leaves makes it extra creepy.
My husband took a weekend trip with our kids. During this time, my brother came over to discuss some cognitive decline our mom has been showing signs of. We are in our 40s, mom is in her 70s. We purposely waited to have this conversation while my kids were away since it wasn't something they should be hearing or worrying about. Later that same evening, our cousin also stopped by. We had some drinks and our cousin ended up driving my brother home still fairly early in the evening. Apparently, when my brother arrived, the neighbor was outside and gave him a smile and a wave. When my brother's car spent the night in our driveway, my neighbor snapped some photos of it and texted my husband with the description of the man who he assumed spent the night, telling my husband I was cheating on him.
I have to say, I cannot imagine having so much free time that I would think twice about the neighbor having a weird car in their driveway overnight.
My husband, of course, laughed it off and told our neighbor that it was my brother's car and he left it there because he had a few beers. My husband also showed me his text history with the neighbor, where the neighbor had been texting him random observations like this on and off for a while.
Okay, so this is not a first offense.
At no point does my husband encourage this. He actually told the neighbor several times that this isn't necessary and he trusts me, to stop surveilling me. Neighbor laughs it off and insists they need to look out for each other.
So is your neighbor actually just doing this so that husband will spy on neighbor's wife for neighbor?
I don't know, but it sounds like husband is not returning the favor, so...
Yeah, because husband doesn't want his wife monitored? I guess not quite enough to let the wife know that the neighbor's keeping tabs, though.
At this point, I'm feeling creeped out and mad at the neighbor and want to confront him. My husband prefers to just keep it texting back saying, "Hey man, no need for this," and overall ignoring it. Edit to add, it's not constant surveillance. It seems to be only when he knows my husband has gone away. The last message was 7 months prior.
I mean, it's not great that he's monitoring you to this extent. Like, whenever he knows your husband is away. I have to admit, I don't even know when our neighbors are away.
Yeah, we're not particularly neighborly. Like, we know our neighbors' names and we say hi if we see them out, but, like, we don't keep tabs on them or who's coming and going at all.
Yeah, like, there's a good chance I might not notice if they're off on vacation together.
Probably not.
So it is kind of weird for me to try to picture being a neighbor that, you know, spies on my neighbor's wife to this extent, because it seems kind of extremely creepy.
It's very intrusive.
Especially because the husband's like, "Hey man, you don't have to keep doing this." Like, he's trying to politely tell you to stop, and neighbor's like, "Haha, no, it's okay. We gotta watch out for each other, bro."
Top comment, not overreacting. This isn't a neighbor looking out for another neighbor. This is targeted surveillance. The fact that he only does this when your husband is away is incredibly predatory and creepy. He's not looking out for your husband. He's trying to catch you in a lie to blow up your marriage. Document everything. Your husband's polite texts aren't working because this guy thinks he's a secret agent. You need a Ring camera and a very firm, very public boundary.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that it sounds like OP isn't, like, worried about any kind of physical harm or anything. She's just creeped out by him watching her, which is fair to be creeped out that someone is watching you, but
he's not watching her in like a predatory, I'm going to get her kind of way. It's in a more of a, I'm looking out for the husband sort of way.
Yes, which seems misguided, but not dangerous. So that she has that going for her, but it's still not an ideal situation, is it?
Another comment, your neighbor is a nosy troublemaker at best or a creepy stalker at worst. Personally, I'd report him to the authorities for invasion of privacy. I'm also wondering, if it had been you who left with the kids for the weekend and your husband had a woman over whose car was there overnight, would your neighbor have informed you of this?
I mean, from the way that I understood it, he's just watching out for his bro, so it's possible that he wouldn't.
I really think he wouldn't. He'd like keep it on the down low for his bro. You know, gotta look out for his bro. It's okay if he's cheating. Someone else replies to that comment, "Ooh, she has to do this now. Take the kids away for a night and have a female relative or friend come over and leave her car overnight. Report back, OP."
I like that, because right now we're just kind of assuming the worst of the neighbor, who is admittedly doing something pretty unacceptable. But yeah, set up that trap. I like it.
People agree with us, though, that they don't think the neighbor would report back on the husband cheating. The "we need to look out for each other" line makes it seem like the neighbor has a specific bias against women being cheaters and men needing to stick together against them. Doubtful that he would say anything to OP.
That's what I gathered from that line, too. Like, I feel like that line said a lot.
Okay, and then she does have 2 little edits. Husband is going to text him using stronger words to tell him to stop it and clearly saying he finds it inappropriate and it makes us both uncomfortable. If he does it again, I'm going to make an online police report. I found a link to do it. I don't expect the police to do anything, but if I make an online report, it's assigned a case number and I can follow up through that if anything else happens.
That's probably good. Like, I can say with a lot of confidence the police can't do anything about your neighbor texting your husband.
Yeah, you can't be like, my neighbor's creepy, come arrest him.
Yeah, but if there is a case number for, there has been borderline harassing activity, it is something that they can build off later if they need to.
Okay, edit 3 isn't anything exciting. She's just calling out all the men who are sending her DMs full of misogynistic nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Lovely, Reddit. Thanks for that. People are great.
Yeah, I was like, oh, there's a 3rd edit, but it wasn't exciting.
It was depressing.
It was depressing.
Sorry, OP.
But yeah, Reddit agrees that this situation is not okay. And I really hope that the husband, gets the neighbor in line and lets him know that this is not okay.
Am I wrong for thinking it's funny that my wife just found the necklace I accused her of losing 11 years ago inside a coat she forgot she owned?
So the husband accused her of losing it, and now years later she's found it and he thinks it's funny?
Essentially.
I don't get what's funny about that. I'd be like, yay, I found my necklace, but okay.
When we first got married, I bought her this necklace for our first anniversary. It wasn't super expensive, but it was really meaningful because it had our initials engraved on it, and I had saved up for it. She loved it, wore it constantly. Then one day, maybe 6 months later, she couldn't find it. Looked everywhere, I helped her look, we turned the house upside down, nothing.
Wow, 6 months, she lost that fast. Are you sure she liked it?
I mean, she did wear it every day.
I just think it's awfully convenient. Oh, it's missing! Now I don't have to wear it every day.
I will be honest, I was kind of a jerk about it. Not screaming or anything, but I made comments. Things like, I can't believe you lost it, and that was a special gift, and I wish you'd taken better care of it. She felt terrible. She cried about it. She even offered to pay for a replacement, and I said no, it's not about the money, it's about the sentiment. Which, in retrospect, was a pretty guilt-trippy thing to say.
Yeah, he sounds like a real asshole. I'm sure, I was joking that she lost it on purpose, but I'm sure that she didn't really lose it on purpose, and I'm sure she feels terrible about it, and he's just over here ragging on her about it and making her feel guilty. And he won't let it go. I feel like at some point you got to be like, it was an honest mistake. Mistakes happen. It's unfortunate. Time to move on.
I can't imagine ever saying something like, I wish you'd taken better care of it if you lost something. Like, once I give it to you, it's yours. And I'm just going to be like, oh, that sucks, babe. You really can't find the necklace?
Yeah, I feel like if you lost something I gave you, I wouldn't be mad. I would feel bad for you and try and console you and be like, it's okay. It'll turn up eventually.
It's just a necklace. It's okay.
It just seems like he's valuing this necklace over his wife's feelings.
It became one of those things in our marriage. Every couple of years it would come up and I'd make some comment about the lost necklace and she would get quiet and feel bad all over again.
Oh my gosh, he will not let it go. He just wants to make her feel bad for the rest of her life. Does he even like her?
I think OP is just bad at letting things go. Because, yeah, I don't know. He even said it wasn't that expensive, but it was special because their initials were carved in it. It's been 11 years. You could have gotten her a replacement necklace.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be the same. It's not the original one.
Last week, my wife was going through our coat closet doing a seasonal clean out. She pulled out this long coat she hasn't worn in years. She put her hand in the pocket and her face went white. She pulled out the necklace.
See, it would turn up eventually. That's what I would have been like, it's okay, it'll turn up eventually. And it did.
11 years later.
It took a lot longer than I was expecting, but yeah.
She had put it in her coat pocket one day, probably to keep it safe while doing something with her hands, and then never wore that coat again. It had been sitting in our closet for 11 years.
It was very safe.
She held it up and just looked at me. And I knew immediately that every comment I had ever made about her losing it was about to come back at me full force.
You deserve it.
I mean, he definitely deserves it. I think it's still counted as lost.
Yeah. I was like, she did lose it for 11 years. I mean, she found it eventually, but she did not have it for 11 years.
Oh, yeah. I feel like OP is acting like, oh, it wasn't lost. No, it was lost. You just were being an ass about it. She's been wearing it every day since. And every time I look at it, she says, oh, this old thing? Yeah, I had to find it myself after my husband guilt-tripped me about it for a decade. Am I wrong for thinking this is funny, even though I was the one making her feel bad about it?
I mean, I guess it's good that he finds it funny rather than like being upset that now she's guilt-tripping him about guilt-tripping her for a decade.
Yeah, I guess that is a good way to look at it because he's not just turning it into an even bigger fight. But it kind of sounds like there was no point where he apologized for making her feel bad about it for a decade.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong for finding it funny now, but he's wrong for making such a big deal about it for 11 years. Oh my gosh, just let it go.
Yeah, OP really sounds like one of those people that just cannot let something go. Like, I don't know, mistakes happen. Sometimes you lose stuff. And sometimes it turns back up and sometimes it doesn't. There was a 1 month period where I lost my wedding ring because I set it on top of the dresser and the cat, knocked it off and it disappeared.
And then I found it in my drawer.
Yeah, it was in your clothing drawer because the cat pushed it in there. And I was very distraught about it. And you're like, well, it's okay. It'll turn up. You didn't, rag on me about it because I set it carelessly on a dresser where a cat could get to it.
Yeah, and then one day I went to pull a shirt out of that drawer that I hadn't worn in a long time and out tumbled the ring.
So, luckily, that was only a 1 month period and not 11 years.
And when you said you lost it, I'm pretty sure we pulled that dresser out from the wall and looked behind it and under it. Did not think to look inside the drawers because I'd left the drawer slightly open and a cat just shoved it off the edge into there.
One of the top comments, berating people for losing things is crazy. Sometimes you lose things even when you take as much care as you can of them. I lose things I had in my life 13 seconds ago. Lost my keys daily for years till I figured out a solution. Leave them in the door. I don't know if I like that solution.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Some of us have fleeting attention spans. I would have a very emotional reaction if someone constantly brought that up to me, let alone berate me about it. This guy was such a wanker, and he thinks it's funny. Ew.
Yeah, I have to agree. Ew.
Sorry, just to follow up on that person's comment, somebody replied, doesn't leaving your keys in the door kind of defeat the purpose of keys? And that commenter replied, keyhole on the inside.
I do not like houses. Our apartment had this, where there is a keyhole on the outside to get in and on the inside to deadbolt it. What if there's a fire and I can't find my keys and I've locked the deadbolt from the inside and I can't find the key to open it?
It's got some real murder energy, doesn't it?
I really do not like it.
I can't imagine what I would do if I went to someone's house and they locked the door behind me from the inside.
With the key, not just the turn the little knob button thing,
just because, you walk into your house, you close the door, you lock it. But if the locking process involved a key and they locked the key shut and put that in their pocket, I'm like, oh.
I'm never getting out of here.
I gotta tackle you right now while you're not expecting it.
Yeah, so our apartment had that and we just never, ever, ever used that key.
Yeah, because our apartment door had 2 deadbolts. It had the one you locked with a key and then it had one that you locked normal with just a knob. We only ever use the knob.
Also, though, have you not seen those old movies where people lock their bedroom door with the key and leave the key in the lock? And then someone comes in and slides a paper under the door and then jiggles the handle so the key falls out and then they pull the key out on the paper and then they can get into your room. That's not safe.
I was just thinking of the Scream movies or something where the girl's trying to get away from the killer and she can't get the key into the keyhole. What if the killer's in the apartment with you? But I think we're off topic.
Okay, yeah.
You're an asshole. My husband bought me a necklace for our first dating anniversary, and a year or so later, I lost it on a trip, right after we got married. I felt so bad. He was really sweet about it and actually bought me an exact replacement for our first wedding anniversary. That's what real men do. Somebody else commented, Opie thinks it's funny now, but I bet he won't after a decade or so of her saying shit.
Right? He's about to get a taste of his own medicine. It's going to get real old real fast.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in a month, right? Another comment. Such an asshole. I lost my wedding and engagement rings last year. I figured they slipped off my finger at the Christmas parade when I took my gloves off to take care of my baby. I didn't even notice until we got home. I was devastated. It broke my heart. My husband never once made me feel bad about it. because he loves me and because he knew how upset I was over an honest mistake. I found them 6 months later in the corner of our front porch. He said just in time too, because our anniversary was a few weeks later and he had been saving up to replace them. Guys like OP make me extra grateful for my husband and make me happy I didn't marry a piece of garbage. So in case you can't tell, Reddit is not holding back when they're telling OP that yes, he is indeed wrong.
It's just, he seems to enjoy tormenting his wife.
I feel like I would get sick of doing it after a decade. I'm trying to think if there's any sore spots we bring up in our marriage once every couple of years and that makes the other person go silent. There probably.
You ate my donut?
I did eat your donut and you do bring that up. It doesn't make me feel bad at all, though I laugh every time.
My donut, Josh. That was my precious, precious donut, and you ate it.
It was worth it. It was such a good donut. You'll never know.
So yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I'm not sick of bringing that up, and it has been almost a decade, I think. So, I don't know.
Were we even married at the time?
No, I think we were living in the apartment and not married yet.
You still married me, though.
Yeah. I don't know why. No, I guess it's because you learned your lesson and you have never since eaten the last donut.
That's true. That's true. It must have been very traumatizing because you have me very well trained now.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, it really helps us out, and it lets us know that we should keep making fun videos like this for you.
Am I the asshole for losing my cool and yelling at my influencer sister-in-law over her constant filming and lack of respect for my daughter's boundaries?
I mean, you're not the asshole. Your sister-in-law really shouldn't be filming other people without them or their parents' permission.
I have a 13-year-old daughter, S. My sister-in-law has 2 boys, 8 and 11, who are deep into the Canadian hockey/baseball travel tournament lifestyle. She's a stay-at-home mom and went down the Insta TikTok family lifestyle influencer rabbit hole. Over the last year, she's leaned hard into the hockey mom thing by posting hotel reviews, game pics, and travel tips. She wants to turn her page into a full family brand. When her boys were younger, she used to say she wished she had a daughter to do girly things with. I included her in a few things with us, like picking out her first communion dress. Back then, she was sweet, supportive, and genuinely the cool aunt. Lately, every family thing has become content. She films everything, stages candid moments, narrates like she's vlogging. At Christmas, she tried to dictate the whole day. Gifts, crafts, movies, all became scripted. The older cousins hid in the basement to escape being filmed.
Okay, this doesn't sound very fun for everyone else. Also, is she even making money at this? It sounds like she's planning on turning it into a brand, so she's not even, like, getting reimbursed for destroying all the family holidays?
I don't think we find out how successful she is at this thing. So I don't know if she's earning money or not at this point.
Okay, because I suppose her earning money wouldn't really justify destroying all of your family gatherings, but it would at least give some insight, and maybe she could pay you.
S later told me she hated being recorded and didn't want to be on sister-in-law's pages.
Well, that kind of settles it right there, doesn't it?
Apparently, sister-in-law kept pestering her to braid her hair, decorate cookies, etc. for content. S didn't know how to shut it down, so she made herself as uninfluencer-friendly as possible. Eye rolls, nose-picking, etc.
Okay, yeah, it is definitely your time to step in, Mom, because it sounds like your 13-year-old daughter's solution was to teach herself bad habits that will haunt her through the rest of her life in order to avoid being on her aunt's Instagram.
Last weekend, we went out for my mom's 70th. Sister-in-law immediately started filming again, making the whole dinner awkward until her partner, my brother, snapped at her to stop. During dinner, S mentioned that she was going dress shopping for her grade 8 graduation. Sister-in-law lit up and started pushing to come so she could expand her brand into full family content. I ignored her to discuss after dinner and in private, but she kept pushing.
Sorry, I keep approaching this from an advertising perspective, which is probably not the healthy way to approach this. I keep thinking about, like, is her brand really doing so bad with just a son-focused audience that she needs to expand into the daughters?
Yeah, she could, like, double her audience and get the girl moms on if she had videos about braiding hair and decorating cookies with her niece.
Yeah, but she's going to alienate her current audience of hockey moms. And that is why I said earlier, I'm probably not approaching this from the right mental state because the real issue is that S does not want to be on film.
Yeah, you're analyzing how to make sister-in-law's Instagram and TikTok pages better. And no, that's not the issue.
I can't help it. I worked in advertising for over a decade.
In the parking lot, she asked again for the time and place of dress shopping. I snapped. I told her my daughter is not her prop, not her girl substitute, and she does not have permission to film or post her. She got defensive and said I was stifling her creativity and that she needs my daughter because she doesn't have one.
I still can't do it, Kristie. Well, it's pissing me off so much how she's approaching this brand. She's a hockey mom. She should be reaching out to hockey sports brands and trying to, like, get the kids all in one brand of gear. Why is she trying to diversify? It sounds like she's not at a stage where she should be diversifying her brand.
It's because she doesn't actually like hockey. She wants to be a girl mom and post girl mom content. That's way more fun than hockey.
Maybe that's it. I'm sorry. I am sorry, everyone. I cannot turn it off.
I told her off loudly and colorfully. S heard, but with two parents who work in construction, she's heard worse. Later, sister-in-law started a group chat saying I was rude, mean, and embarrassed her, and that everyone posts everything these days. She demanded an apology. I refused and reiterated our boundaries. My siblings backed me up and said they also don't want their kids in her content. Sister-in-law hasn't responded since. I know I raised my voice, but she has ignored every boundary. My priority was protecting S's boundaries, unequivocally. I know I am NTA for that, and I will never apologize. However, my sister-in-law just didn't get it. So, am I the asshole for yelling at sister-in-law in the manner I did?
No, I mean, it sounds like sister-in-law couldn't take a hint. So at a certain point, the next step is gonna be yell at them. Like, if they're not taking subtle hints, you need to just be very blunt and loud sometimes.
I think it went from subtle hints to straight up saying, hey, don't film us, to then, a shouting match.
Yeah, it sounds like OP, properly ramped this up. Which just means that she's a good parent. You gotta protect your kid, especially if they don't want to be posted online. Like, if a kid says, I don't want to be in the influencer account, then they shouldn't be in the influencer account.
Not just a kid. If anyone says, hey, I know you're filming, but I do not want to be in your content, don't film me, they shouldn't be in your content.
Right. Respect people's boundaries. And stop diversifying your brand when you haven't properly built your foundation. Have you even reached out to any of these hotel chains to get an exclusive deal when you're traveling the country?
Top comment, NTA, but also buy your daughter a couple of custom t-shirts and hoodies that say, I do not consent to being filmed, and on the line below have it reversed, so even if the image is mirrored, it's readable.
That sounds awful, though, that your daughter would have to wear this antisocial shirt to all family gatherings. But if that's the solution, then yeah, she might have to. I certainly hope sister-in-law takes the damn hint now that she got yelled at, and it sounds like the other siblings also joined in, or like, yeah, you gotta calm down.
Now, everyone is trying to stifle her creativity.
Sounds like her creativity could stand to be stifled a little. Your creativity does not extend to other people. Sister-in-law sounds like she's one step above those prank channels where they just, go into a public area and hit people with a mop. And they're like, it's just a prank, bro. It's for content. We're filming.
Yeah, that's not cool.
No.
NTA, she doesn't get to use your daughter against her will to create content. Period. S is not her substitute daughter. Influencer culture can be so toxic. If the only way you can make interesting content is to force your family to participate against their will, maybe you aren't much of an influencer after all.
Yeah, I have seen plenty of mom influencers that never put their kids in any of the shots. It's just like them driving to soccer practice and then they talk into the camera, but the kids are never in a single shot because they don't want their kids growing up in front of a camera like that.
Yeah, I've seen that too. And I do think if you're going to be a mom influencer or a parent influencer, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, in the past, I have worked with quite a few mom influencers who take very healthy approaches to whether or not their kids should be in the content. And honestly, most of the ones that I have done paid brand deals with did not even have their kids in the shot. It was like we loaned them a car for the day so that they could sell the car for doing road trips and it can handle all the kids' stuff, and they show themselves packing and unloading the stroller and things, but the kid's never in the shot, and I think that's a healthy approach to it. Especially because, is sister-in-law even putting any money aside for the kids that are being featured in these ads?
I mean, we get no clue as to the finance or success of sister-in-law, so I don't know.
Yeah, but that's an important detail. If she's got a YouTube channel and she's heavily featuring minors, in the US at least, she legally is required to put a portion of that money aside for when they're 18. I believe. I'm a little rusty on the exact rules.
I don't know. A while ago, I heard that law varied by state, but I don't know. I can't remember.
Either way, though, it sounds like she wants to feature S in her content without S actually receiving any benefit. And on top of that, S just doesn't want to be in the damn content.
NTA, if the fact the older cousins are hiding in the basement to avoid being filmed didn't tell her that she needed to stop, what else can you do but yell?
Yeah, half the family's down in the basement hiding from sister-in-law, and she still hasn't taken a hint.
Now, I will say, I do think that OP has let this go on a little too long. Sister-in-law was trying to use S in her content, and S was like, I don't want to be in your content, so I'm just going to roll my eyes and pick my nose and stuff. And I'm like, no, you shut sister-in-law down before it gets to that point.
At least OP got there in the end. I don't know if we know the exact time frame of events, but the important thing is that she did support her daughter, and apparently she works construction, and people in construction can yell.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta be able to be heard over all those construction vehicles. They are just naturally loud.
So, Reddit says NTA and influencers need to learn not everybody wants to be in their videos.
Am I the asshole for abusing the bus stop chain so I don't miss my stop?
I don't understand what he means by abuse the chain, but, okay, go ahead and read me the story.
I take a bus connection route on my way to work every morning. The public transport in my city in Southern California is not great, but I am lucky that this bus route works for me. It's been a few months since I started taking this route, and there's so many things I find annoying. Unlike buses I've taken before and the underground trains, buses don't announce the next stop outside of main stops. Second, buses don't stop at those other stops, and will skip over those unless someone pulls the chain for it to stop. I've even asked the bus driver to help guide me, but most don't seem to like their job and are of no help, really.
Okay, yeah, when we were in college, that's how the bus system worked, I don't think they announced any stops, even the main ones, but they would stop at the main ones and would just drive past the smaller ones unless you pulled the chain.
Pretty much. They had a map up on the ceiling that you could look at, but I don't think they announced any of the stops.
Now, as for asking the bus drivers for helps with your bus route and figuring out where you need to get off, yeah, they don't like their job. They're not getting paid enough for this shit, and they're not going to help you.
In my experience, it depends a lot on how you ask, and also sometimes how good of a day the driver's having, because
yes,
bus drivers probably have to deal with some of the craziest people on Earth.
I don't even want to try and imagine what the Detroit bus drivers go through.
If you ever listen to the local radio station, a lot.
Yeah, they always had crazy news stories about the Detroit buses and stuff going down on them.
Yeah, I have to assume Detroit buses are some of the worst buses to have to drive. They are underpaid. I don't care how much they're being paid. They are underpaid. I tried to find ways to ensure I get to my stop without issues. I used Google Maps, the official tracking app, as well as actual map of the bus route, but online means always show me when I have already skipped my stop. And it's frustrating. There's no announcements of any main stops I can put a mental pin on for my stop.
Instead of staring at his phone and the map and the dot on his phone, has he tried looking out the window? You'd be like, okay, we're passing that gas station. That means my stop is coming up in one block.
That's how we used to have to do it.
Right?
But the next sentence, I even try to check my surroundings, but I take the bus early in the morning at 5:50 a.m., and it's still relatively dark outside. It's frustrating.
Okay, yeah, I drive to work in the dark every morning, and there's enough street lights and, shop lights and lights from the gas stations and light from the stores that you can see where you are. You can see what buildings you're passing. There goes the McDonald's, even though it's not open yet. How does he not seeing anything? Plus, he's on a bus. It's a pretty city-ified area. It's not like he's out in the country.
Yeah, I was going to add that it's not like the bus is driving out into the farmlands.
Yeah, where there's no streetlights and it's really, really dark. No, they're in a city. There should be lights. He should be able to see what, businesses they're passing and figure out where he is on the route.
So lately, when I have a fair idea that I'm near, I track minutes and seconds. I pull the chain. Most of the time, the bus is forced to stop for like 5 seconds before resuming again, and I can generally tell the next stop is mine. I don't like doing this, but if I don't, I always miss it, and I have to walk 20 minutes to work when it would take me less than 3 normally.
How is tracking minutes and seconds to figure out where you are on the route better than looking out the window? And then he's like, okay, I think we're getting close. I'm going to pull the chain, and it stops at the next stop. And then he looks out the window and is like, okay, no, this one isn't my stop. The next one is my stop. What the heck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, he doesn't even use the timer to, signal to himself, I should look out the window. He uses it to stop the whole bus.
He can't look out the window unless the bus is stopped, okay?
Yesterday it happened again, and the bus driver called me out and was clearly annoyed with me. I apologized briefly, but I still don't know what the solution is.
Look out the damn window.
So are they the asshole?
Yes! You're slowing down the whole bus route by making the bus stop unnecessarily every morning at a bus stop it doesn't need to stop at. And then the bus driver, I'm sure, is like, oh, someone pulled the chain, I gotta stop. And they stop, and they're like, okay, who's getting off? Nobody's getting off? Is everybody okay? And everybody's staying on? How long do you wait before you figure out no one's getting off and continue on?
I mean, that did happen a few times when I was riding buses back in college. And the bus driver would stop, give it a good 5-8 seconds, and then see nobody was standing up and keep driving because, occasionally people do it by mistake.
Yes.
It sounds like OP is doing this every damn day. The bus driver knows OP's face.
Now, I know the bus driver was annoyed and didn't want to help him figure out which stop is his. I'm betting now that bus driver wished they had because this is worse.
Sorry, just the way that OP wrote the whole story, though, I feel like OP probably did not ask in a very, graceful and self-sufficient manner. I just picture OP being like, hey, bus driver, can you tell me when this stop is coming up?
And yeah, that's not the bus driver's job. That's really not what... They don't do that. That's not part of their job description.
Yeah, if you ask the bus driver even hey, this is a weird question. Is there any landmark I can look for when my stop is coming up? Or anything. I don't know. It just depends heavily on how they asked. I can't say that the bus driver's any amount the asshole in this. They're just doing their job.
Yeah, you can't expect a bus driver to keep track of all of the people on their bus and which stops they want to get off at for them.
Yeah, this is a city bus, not a school bus.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. School buses do that. City buses do not.
Top comment. You take the same route to work every morning and you don't know where your stop is? You're the asshole. That's your responsibility.
I'm just wondering, how does this guy know how to drive and how does he drive anywhere? Because apparently he can't tell any landmarks apart.
Somebody replied to that, yeah, OP, stay awake the whole trip next time. Find a building or other landmark just before the stop you missed, and then pull it at that building next time. Somebody else commented, what OP has described is how buses work in every city I've lived in or visited, with a bell to stop the bus at a stop or a person at the stop flagging the bus down. Americans are so weird about public transport.
No, that's how bus stops work in America, too.
Yeah, I don't know why he had to make it about Americans. OP is weird by American standards, too.
Well, he probably assumes just from how stupid OP is that he obviously has to be an American.
Well, no, he knows OP's an American because he said he lives in California.
Oh, right. Okay. I just thought our reputation had preceded us.
On Reddit, it often does, but not in this instance. Another comment, even if it's dark, there will be some landmarks they can use. Dark at 6 a.m. isn't dark, especially if you're living in SoCal, in an area with decent bus service. There will be streetlights and businesses with lighted signs and other things you can see out the window. It's not like OP is taking a Greyhound through rural nowhere surrounded by cornfields, where the only light is the stars in the sky. It smacks of main character syndrome. I'm hoping that OP is just being clueless, and this post will yank a knot in their tail, so they realize it instead of this being the way that they typically go through life. It does kind of have real my problems are everybody's problems energy, doesn't it?
It really does. I'm going to inconvenience everybody because I can't figure out my own bus stop.
Which is pretty heavily Reddit's opinion too. You're the asshole. Learning how bus stops work is a basic adult skill.
Am I the asshole for speaking to my overweight assistant about her business lunch and making her cry?
I mean, you should really try not to make people cry. Also, did you need to include the word overweight in the title?
It was in parentheses, like that might be why she cried.
Okay, you still sound a little mean.
At the beginning of the year, I hired an assistant. We'll call her Amy. Amy is great at what she does, and I have already given her a raise because I feel she was underpaid for what she was doing. I'm working on several large deals, so I gave Amy the lead on one of them. She did an excellent job. I set up a lunch appointment with that client on Friday. I told him I would be bringing Amy as she has been instrumental in their account. He did not have a problem with this. Amy was professional, knowledgeable, and did an overall good job. The client and I were both impressed, with the exception of one thing. The client and I both ordered burgers and fries. Amy ordered a steak, well done, mashed potatoes, steamed veggies, and a side of soup.
Wow, you two went burger and fries and she went steak?
With sides, lots of sides.
Okay.
The client and I finished about the same time. It was another 15 minutes before Amy finished. When the waitress came around and asked if we wanted dessert, the client and I both said no. Amy ordered cheesecake and coffee.
Okay, I have a guess as to why OP had to talk to Amy about her lunch habits. You can't order dessert when the client doesn't order dessert. Or order a steak when everyone else orders a hamburger, for that matter.
I realized that I hadn't spoken to Amy about client lunches before, so after the meeting, I explained to her that it is best to follow the client's lead. If they order simple food, we order simple food. If they decline dessert, we decline dessert. If we want something afterwards, we can pick it up later.
Yeah, that is good business etiquette. And I would say you don't order steak on someone else's dime.
Well, this is their client, so they're paying for it, which means like her company is paying for it, but she's not paying for it. The company is paying for it.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I assumed OP was paying for it and, billing the company. But then I've always worked at companies where they're going to look at the receipt and be like, why did you order steak?
Yeah, I would assume they would look at the receipt too and be like, whoa, you spent a lot. What happened?
Right. And I could justify my steak if the client also got a steak. But if the client's getting a burger and fries, I feel like the accounting department's going to throw the receipt at me.
Also, they're like, no, we're good. And she's like, but I want dessert. And now everybody's got to sit around for another 15 minutes or else it seems like they're rude. What if they have to get back to work and they're just sitting around waiting for you to finish your cheesecake?
That's rude even outside of a business lunch. You can't just be the only person at the table that orders dessert and make all your friends sit around and watch you eat it.
Amy did not take this well. At first, she offered to pay me back. I told her it was not a money issue. I have no problem buying her lunch, but to keep in mind, it's about business.
Sorry, a thought just occurred to me, and maybe it'll come up in a second here. Why did OP need to call her overweight in the title when it sounds like it has no relevance?
Well, it comes up in the next paragraph.
Okay, good, because it sounds like she didn't order, an insane amount of food.
No, a steak, 3 sides, and dessert and coffee.
Like a full meal. It was not a light lunch. But I hope there's justification for him including that word.
I told her I usually order wraps or burgers because they are not too messy, like spaghetti, and I can take small bites in case I'm asked a question. I can also match the client's eating speed so there's no awkward waiting on either side. Then she started crying, saying it's because she's fat. Her words, not mine. I again told her it was about strategy. I thought she had great potential and I wanted to help guide her. I then told her about some of my past faux pas. For example, ordering spaghetti and getting it all on my shirt. Or once I ordered first and ordered a cheeseburger when the client was a vegetarian and highly disgusted at me.
I mean, the client that's judging you based off of what you're eating, it sounds kind of annoying, but you do have to kind of cater to the client's likes and wants when you take them out to lunch.
She was still upset when she left. I feel like an asshole for bringing this to her attention, but my intentions were good. I feel like she has great potential. The meal did not concern me as much as how she took instruction. Now I'm wondering if others think I was wrong for bringing it up at all.
I mean, I don't think OP was the asshole here. It sounds like he's responsible for this employee and just gave her some tips on what is proper business etiquette when you're out at lunch. That's not something people just know. You generally have to learn it, and often you learn it from somebody else that's working with you who is more experienced. It's a little worrying that Amy is so bad at taking criticism and immediately tried to attribute it to something that she's sensitive about. You got to be able to take a little bit of criticism when you screw up. It sounds like OP wasn't even really that mad. He's just like, hey, in the future, try to match the client a little better. Honestly, this is good dating etiquette, too.
Top comment starts by quoting OP's story. Amy did not take this well. At first, she offered to pay me back. I told her it was not a money issue. And then the comment continues, there's no way you can get someone who is determined to misunderstand you to understand you. You did not comment on her weight, and her theatrics speak to her and whatever she's dealing with internally. Professionally, this is a huge red flag for Amy. I know it's hard to hear, especially given the crying and all that, but you are not the asshole.
That is an excellent point. Sometimes people are just determined to take things the wrong way.
And it does sound like Amy is a little sensitive when it comes to food, and I could kind of see how she could see this as OP trying to police what she's eating.
Because I bet there's even a chance that OP and the client, even if they were trying to be polite, probably gave her some annoyed looks while she was eating her dessert and drinking her coffee after lunch when they need to get back to work. Most business lunches I've had end with somebody at the table being like, I'm sorry, guys, I got another meeting and I got to rush out of here.
Yeah, we're on work time. We got stuff to do.
And once again, like, ordering steak on the company dime is something that you gotta, like, you almost gotta work up to it, like, during meetings and stuff. Be like, elbow the client a little and being like, hey, let's go get some steaks. I'm gonna treat you. Like, you can't just suddenly go steak. Is that just me?
I feel like you can't suddenly go steak when your client has already ordered a burger, because then they're like, oh, was steak an option? I was trying to be polite and not be too expensive, but if you're getting steak, I could have gotten steak on your dime. That means, and now I want a steak, but I got a burger.
That's why every client meeting I've ever had where we're doing steaks, I usually work it up a little and being like, hey, you know, they told me to take you out and treat you. So we're going to go to a nice restaurant. We're going to get a couple good steaks. I'm going to buy you a nice beer and, you know, we're going to have a good time, and then we'll talk about the business a little bit just to justify it to my boss. You got to play it up a little. Mm-hmm. You can't just go straight steak, especially after the client ordered a burger, like you said.
This feels like the type of behavior of a person who can't accept that they did anything wrong and instead turns the attack around on the other person. I understand this is one incident, but it's something to watch out for. I've had coworkers and past partners like this. Once you notice it, it reappears everywhere. Yeah, that maybe is something to look out for. Like, if you ever criticize Amy, does she turn it around and try and, well, it's your fault, or it's someone else's fault? Does she try and deflect blame all the time? That's, you know, not a great characteristic trait.
Yeah, she didn't so much deflect the blame back to OP as point towards one of her flaws and start crying, which screams lack of self-confidence to me more than trying to get away with things.
I don't think she's pointing at one of her own flaws. She's pointing at OP and being, you're calling me fat. You're so rude and mean.
Oh, that's not at all how I interpreted that.
Oh.
I interpreted that as, it's because I'm overweight, and this is so many of my problems, and then she got a little overwhelmed and cried. I interpreted that as her being self-deprivating.
No, I interpreted that as, you're just criticizing me because I'm fat, and which means you're a bully and you're mean.
I guess that's just one of those problems when you can't get, like, tone from the way people write.
NTA, I am also an overweight person. I do understand that she may be feeling very sensitive about her weight. A lot of us fat people do, but not every conversation about food is an indictment. If she wants to be in your field, she needs to know the strategy. I also get why it didn't occur to you to have the food strategy meeting ahead of time, but I hope that if this happens again with someone else, that you will do so.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame OP for assuming that she has some knowledge, and then when it turns out she doesn't have the knowledge, it sounds like OP didn't even, like, yell at her or anything.
No, I thought he worded it very nicely, like, hey, in business lunches, we got to kind of follow the client's lead, you know?
Yeah, that's just guiding someone that's younger than you. It's the responsible thing to do. I have seen plenty of people I've worked with that are, like, come back to the office and then grumble to the rest of the older guys and like, man, that new person really screwed up at this meeting, and I don't know why they didn't know this basic thing. And like, well, they've been in advertising for less than a year. You need to teach them these things. So OP, honestly, kind of sounds like they're a pretty decent boss. They're even, like, giving Amy opportunities to, like, take over on a client project.
gave her a raise just because they thought she deserved it.
Yeah, those are green flags.
Yeah, so Reddit says not the asshole, but she's just probably very sensitive about this topic, and there might not have been a good way to, broach the subject.
Am I the asshole? My girlfriend is angry that I call my friend by his real name.
What are you supposed to call him instead?
Bruh.
Bruh.
Everyone who knows my ex-boyfriend, 33 male, calls him either JT or by his last name. I, 29 male, was never among those people. He introduced himself to me by his first name, Jude. So that's what I've always called him.
I feel like whatever someone introduces themselves as to you is what you should call them. Like, they're telling you this is their preferred name. I feel like this is the polite thing to do.
2 years ago, he and I broke up due to him getting a promotion that included a ton of traveling. I love him, and I definitely didn't want him turning down an opportunity like that for me. We tried long distance, and it just wasn't sustainable for us. I'm a homebody through and through, and I like having my person home with me too. I've been dating my current girlfriend, 29 female, for about 8 months now. Jude has recently transferred positions within his company again, and is back in our city for the majority of the time. We didn't end on bad terms at all, so we're still friends. My girlfriend always said she was fine with that. After a group outing with him, my girlfriend, and some other friends, she asked why I call him something different than everyone else. This has since turned into a multi-day argument, where she claims that calling him by his first name when no one else does is too intimate. She said it's a relationship thing, and that I need to start treating him like a friend. I said she's being ridiculous and unbelievably insecure. It's his name, not a term of endearment. Am I the asshole?
I'm leaning towards not the asshole, but maybe talk to Jude and see if he still prefers Jude or if now he would like you to call him JT.
I feel like the part of this story that makes OP the asshole is that he typed, I love him in present tense.
I didn't even catch that, and yeah, that's a big red flag right there.
And I get that changing what you call somebody is a very hard thing to break, but comboing that in with that little statement, it makes me a little worried.
And I totally get new girlfriend being insecure because you and Jude broke up on good terms, and you only broke up because he moved away. Not because, you didn't love each other anymore. Just simply because he moved away, and now he's back.
And as current girlfriend, of course I'm gonna say I'm okay with you still being friends, because otherwise I seem like a controlling crazy person.
Yeah, but I would constantly be thinking, is he, thinking, wow, Jude's back. He's the one who got away. I still love him, and I want to get back with him now that he's back. I would be concerned. Especially since he's throwing all these other red flags, like I love him and they're still friends and he calls him by a name nobody else calls him by. It's a little concerning.
It's tough. She's in a tough position, and I would also be a little paranoid.
But at the same time, I feel like you should trust your partner, and if they say there's nothing to worry about with their ex, you should, if it's a good relationship, you should believe them,
Yes, that is true. If your partner has given you no reason to doubt them, you should always trust them.
Now, calling him Jude instead of JT, is that too intimate when nobody else calls him that? I don't know, because that is what he introduced himself as, so that makes me think that's his preferred name. Maybe you need to go talk to Jude again and be like, hey, do you prefer Jude or JT? I really think that the only person who should have any say over what they are called is the person who is, has that name.
Yeah, because even if your exes that broke up on less amicable terms, you still probably wouldn't change what you call them. You might just say, Jude, that asshole.
Yeah, you wouldn't change their name, because that's what you've called them for years.
Yeah, so that is a very hard habit to break. For the instance of you calling him Jude instead of JT, you're not the asshole. It just makes me a little suspicious when you type out, I love him in present tense like that.
Yeah, it seems like there are a few things she might have valid, legitimate concerns over.
Top comment. You broke up with him because he had to travel a bunch, no other reason. And now he doesn't have to travel like that anymore. I doubt she's upset about the name. She's probably just feeling insecure. And considering the situation, I can understand why she would feel that way. Someone replied, yeah, I could see this being the case as well. Not the asshole about the name thing, but I suspect it's about more than the name.
Yeah, I don't think the name is the whole issue here.
And I'm not the only one that noticed that present tense I love him. There's a lot of comments about that.
They do not like him saying that.
And to add on to that, somebody commented, the term current girlfriend doesn't imply permanence either.
Oh, yeah, that's an... Oh.
I didn't even catch that. He called his girlfriend my current girlfriend.
I don't know if I want to be called anyone's current girlfriend. Yeah, that does not imply permanence.
It's like if I went around introducing you to everyone as Kristie, my first wife.
No, I don't like that. First and only wife.
My favorite wife, Kristie.
No.
I actually do introduce you as my favorite wife sometimes.
Yeah, you do call me your favorite wife a lot.
And you are my favorite wife.
Oh, thanks. Your only wife. I hope.
This isn't about the name. Your girlfriend is fixated on the name because it's a tangible thing that she can complain about. There might be an immaturity there where she doesn't know how to bring up the actual issue in an adult discussion. Ask yourself this: if you were single when your ex came back to town, would you two have tried to pick things up where you left off? If the answer is no, reassure your girlfriend that there are no lingering feelings. You two really are just friends, and you chose to be with her. If the answer is yes, it's a bit more complicated. It's not that you can't be friends with an ex. It's that you shouldn't be friends with an ex if there are still any non-platonic feelings on either side. It's disrespectful to the person you're with. So if the answer is yes, you need to make a decision about whether you want to stay in your current relationship. But if you do, you should be honest with her about it, so she can make an informed decision about whether this is a relationship she wants to be in.
That is some good advice. I think some frank, honest discussions would be a good idea.
Yeah, because it might not even be an immaturity thing on her part. She might just not want to come across as being, like, overly controlling and clingy.
Yeah, because there is the joke that you know about girls like that, and nobody wants to be that girl, but at the same time, you don't want your guy straying.
Somebody else commented, not the asshole. I actually had a similar thing with a friend in that everyone called her boyfriend BK. He was introduced to me as BK by our mutual friends. Anyway, my friend started dating him, and he introduced himself to her as Bren. I asked him if he preferred Bren, and he said yes. Turns out he hated being called BK, and it was just a terrible nickname that everyone gave him.
Oh no, that's the worst. And once it sticks, you can't get rid of it.
I know a few people who got stuck with a terrible nickname, and the only solution to escape it was to, like, change jobs.
That's drastic, but sometimes you gotta if it's awful.
I don't think he changed job because of the nickname, but I think that nickname stuck until he changed jobs. OP replied to that. My ex-partner never hated being called any of his nicknames, but I would imagine it would be a little awkward when it comes to a romantic partner. Last name might work, but it still feels a little bro-y, you know? I mostly just can't get past the thought of being in bed with someone and referring to them by their initials, JT or BK, don't exactly roll off the tongue.
I don't know, like, I have a few friends who do go by, like, their initials, and, like, that's just their name. That's just who they are now to me. Like, I don't think it's weird because I don't even think of it as initials. That's their name.
All right, and then there is an update.
Okay.
My girlfriend and I sat down for a long conversation a few days ago. I went into it knowing that separation was the right choice here.
Oh, okay, so he does still have feelings for Jude.
Still, I wanted us to have a real talk about our feelings, so I tried to open up the floor for a discussion about what was really bothering her beyond the name issue. She continually insisted it truly was only about that. It ended in her giving me an ultimatum, and me breaking things off.
Okay, ultimatums are never good, I guess.
Some of the comments on my other posts led me to do a lot of thinking. I was with Jude from the time I was 19 until I was 27. I spent almost all of my 20s with him. I'm now just a few months shy of 30, and the next decade of my life has been on my mind. I don't know if I'll get to spend it with who I want to, but I know being alone is better than spending it with the wrong person. I'm going to be taking some time for myself. I've never been a relationship hopper. My previous relationship was my first anyway. And I think it's important the people in my life know that they're more important than that. Thank you for all the feedback. Some of the specific exchanges I had here helped spark the internal conversations I needed to have with myself to figure out what I wanted.
Jude. He wants Jude. Oh, was that dumb?
No, that's very on par with everything Reddit is saying.
He says he's going to take a break from dating, but I don't think I believe him.
Even if he does want to take a short break, Reddit very firmly believes that he wants to get back with Jude.
Yeah, he was with Jude for like 8 years. That's a really long time.
Yeah, that's a really long time, and they only broke up because Jude had to travel more. And now, 2 years later, Jude's back?
He's like, yeah, let's get back with Jude. I do feel a little bad for the girlfriend, but once a relationship has reached a stage where you're giving ultimatums, it's probably not going to work out.
No, and it sounds like girlfriend was just doing that as like a last-ditch effort to save the relationship. She could very clearly see that the relationship was not going to work as long as Jude was in the picture, right?
Yeah, breakups are rough, but it sounds like this relationship was not going to work out anyways.
So people in the comments are not fans of OP, by the way.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because there's a lot of signs that OP is really cherry-picking information to make himself sound good and make his ex-girlfriend now sound insecure and a bit crazy.
I think she had reason to be insecure.
Oh, she definitely had reason to be insecure, but a lot of the comments are implying that he's trying to make her seem extra insecure.
Oh, okay.
Like this one. The fact that you called her ridiculous and insecure and she was right. If you were honest with her when you broke up, I'm sure it would have hurt both of you, but at least you wouldn't be making her think she was crazy for clocking the mutual romantic love you and your ex have for each other. And that's why you're the asshole. Somebody replied, yeah, I'd love to hear the actual details of the conversation with his girlfriend, and not just the part OP cherry-picked out to make her sound crazy. And then to close out, I think this comment thread is worth reading through. Kind of gives, like, Reddit's perspective as well as OP's.
Okay.
Somebody comments, Sir, since your last post, we all know that you still love him. So I'm actually glad you let your girlfriend go, because she does deserve to be with someone that loves her, and doesn't have lingering feeling towards someone else. Somebody replies, I'm curious if he still loves Jude, if OP wants to share. Somebody else says, I love him. That's a direct quote from OP from the original post. OP then replies, I'm always going to love him, and I would love to explore things at a later time. I feel like jumping into something with him right now, or even trying to, would completely discredit how much I respect and care for him. We never lost touch throughout those 2 years apart, but we've been talking a lot more lately. Just being there to support each other is important, and what's best for both of us right now. I don't think I mentioned, all of OP's comments are very downvoted.
Yeah, because nobody believes him. He wants to jump Jude's bones right now.
That, and I'm not sure I like the sentence, I feel like jumping into something with him right now, or even trying to, would completely discredit how much I respect and care for him. It sounds like he does not care how it would affect his girlfriend that he just broke up with.
No, he doesn't care about her. He only loves Jude.
Yeah, it sounds like he's completely moved on from that point in his life.
Very quickly.
Somebody replied to OP, the sentence, and I would love to explore things at a later time is exactly why people are downvoting you. You're admitting that you love him and that you'd be open to a romantic relationship with him in the future. That strongly suggests you were never fully committed to your girlfriend in the first place. From her perspective, it would feel like she was just a placeholder until the opportunity to return to him came along. At the same time, you told your girlfriend she was imagining things and made her doubt her instincts. But based on what you're writing here, she wasn't imagining anything. She picked up on the exact vibes you're now admitting were there. You're describing her as if she was being irrational, yet your own comments show that her concerns were valid. She wasn't crazy. She recognized that your feelings for him were beyond platonic friendship. That's why it's important to take some accountability for this. You're trying to play the victim in your narrative, while you aren't the victim here but the instigator. OP replied to that, thank you for taking the time to write this out. Yes, I can see how it would look from her point of view. It was never my goal to use her as a placeholder in my life. So I think that's why I'm struggling so hard with people insisting it to be true. It makes me question my sense of self. But I think it's because what people are interpreting as intentionally malicious was done completely unintentionally.
Even if it was unintentional, it's still not great.
It's still a dick move, even if you don't mean for it to be a dick move, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad that the girlfriend now has a chance to find a relationship with somebody that she's more compatible with. And OP, just get with Jude. You two obviously still like each other. You apparently never stopped talking for the 2 years that you were dating someone else.
Why didn't they just stay together?
I don't know.
Sounds like long distance would have worked, right?
It sounds like they could have made long distance work.
Am I the asshole for fixing my daughter's car when her boyfriend said he'd handle it?
Did OP just, push him out of the way and say, no, let a real man do this?
My daughter, 21 female, and I have always been pretty close. She moved in with her boyfriend a couple of months ago. It was a little tough seeing her move out, but I know she's an adult and building her own life. She drives an old Corolla with a lot of miles on it. A couple of weeks ago, she mentioned the steering wheel had started shaking when she got up to highway speeds, and sometimes the front end would shudder when she braked.
Okay, those aren't generally good signs.
She told me her boyfriend said he would take care of it. Another week went by, and it still hadn't been looked at.
Sorry, a week? If the steering wheel and the front end are shuddering, that's a look at this same day problem.
Yeah, that's not a keep driving it for a week thing. You're going to do irreparable damage.
Yeah, that's like your timing chain is coming off and it's going to rip your engine in half.
That happened to my car.
I know.
It was expensive.
Yeah, we did not have a week's worth of notice. It was like one driving trip.
And it was so expensive, we're like, throw out the car and get a new one.
Yeah, it cost half as much as the car to repair the damage that happened when that chain slipped.
Last weekend, she came by my place and said it was getting worse, and it was starting to make her nervous to drive. So I took it for a quick drive, and sure enough, the wheel was shaking pretty good around 60 miles per hour, and it shuddered when I hit the brakes. I pulled the front wheels off in the driveway, and it was pretty obvious the front brake rotors were warped, and the brake pads were worn unevenly. I ran to the parts store, grabbed new rotors and pads, and swapped them out that afternoon. Took a couple of hours, and after that, the car drove smooth again.
Good job, OP.
My daughter was really happy and thanked me a bunch. To me, it wasn't a big deal. I've worked on cars most of my life, and she's my kid. A few days later, she and her boyfriend came over for dinner. At one point, he pulled me aside and told me I shouldn't have fixed the car. He said it was his responsibility as her boyfriend to handle that kind of thing, and that by doing it myself, I stepped on his toes.
Okay. That's super weird. What do you mean he pulled you aside to let you know that you stepped on his toes when he didn't do it for a week? Sounds like he was dropping the ball and you picked it up.
Yeah, and now he's embarrassed by that, it sounds like.
It does sound like that, doesn't it?
I told him I wasn't trying to prove anything. The car was getting worse, and I just fixed it while she was there. Since then, he's been pretty short with me, and the vibe has been a little weird. My daughter says he feels like I undermined him. From my point of view, she's still my daughter, and if something on her car is unsafe and I can fix it in an afternoon, I'm going to. Am I the asshole?
You're not the asshole. Also, didn't your daughter bring it to you because boyfriend wasn't fixing it?
I don't know if she brought it specifically for that reason. I think she's just dropping by to visit and was like, hey, my car is, doing something funky, Dad.
Ah, the standard, I casually mentioned a problem to my dad, and now it is Dad's life mission to fix this problem for me.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I still don't think OP's the asshole here. It just shows, some insecurity on boyfriend's part that he can't handle Dad stepping in and fixing his daughter's car.
I also feel like it shows a lack of concern for his girlfriend's safety that he waited a whole week and let her drive this car for a week with it doing all this weird shaking and shuddering.
Yeah, if he was just like, I'll look at it on the weekend, babe, I could understand that. A week means that he has had opportunities to at least drive it on the highway, hit the brakes, and be like, oh, okay, I think I have an idea, and it is safe or it is not safe to drive.
Top comment, red flags to me. He's more concerned about how he looks than your daughter's safety. I would honestly suggest she thinks about what other ways he tries to control her.
Yeah, it does sound rather controlling because you're never going to stop being her dad. You're never going to stop fixing things for her, especially it sounds like car things. Sounds like that's OP's thing.
Yeah, he's good with cars. Of course he's going to fix his daughter's car.
I think that that's just something that you need to accept as this girl's boyfriend, that, Dad might fix the car sometimes, and I don't know why you would think that that is something to be insecure about.
Red flag that it's about him and his ego, especially already getting uptight with what might be his future father-in-law. He should be thanking OP and apologizing for not getting it done sooner, in my honest opinion. Anything less is sus.
Just the act of pulling him aside is crazy to me. I don't think I've ever once pulled my father-in-law aside to tell him something, good or bad.
Did you ask him if you could marry me? Or did we not do that because that's old-fashioned?
I did ask him because I know that is something that your parents like.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't pull him aside. I think I just waited for you to leave the room and your mom was there.
Another comment, NTA. When was he going to fix it? When she got in an accident? That's your baby. You care for her more than he ever could. He's risking her safety by not fixing it sooner when he said he would. OP replies, glad someone understands. He makes it out to be weird that she stayed with me into adulthood, and now that he's in the picture, she doesn't need me for anything.
Gosh, that poor boyfriend. Did his parents just, kick him out the second he turned 18?
Cut contact with him. You're an adult now. Go out into the world by yourself.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Just boot him from the nest. You're dead to us now.
He's too lazy to do the job he offered to do, but too egocentric not to get sulky when someone else does this necessary work. How else does he let your daughter down?
So Reddit is not holding back at all on boyfriend, are they?
No, Reddit hates the boyfriend. They think he's all sorts of red flags, and I kind of agree.
I feel like he's a couple red flags. I haven't heard a ton about him other than he dragged his feet on fixing that car and was upset that someone beat him to it. He could be excellent in a lot of other categories, but all the categories I've heard about, he's failed.
My boyfriend picked up pretty quick that if he wanted to help me with something, he would have to do it quick or my dad would do it. That's how it goes. If he wants to be the one responsible for helping your daughter, then he needs to learn to take initiative. NTA.
Yeah, that is a thing with some girls. You gotta, race dad to fix the problem.
Dad's got things to do. He's got problems to fix.
Yeah, or, when we started dating, you were still living with your parents, and your dad would always give you a Valentine's present before I even saw you.
Yeah, because, Valentine's Day would be, on a Friday, and you weren't coming till Saturday, and my dad got me a big box of chocolates.
Yeah, your dad would always give you, these giant boxes of chocolates. I think he gave you, better stuff than me some years.
Last year, he gave me a 5-pound bag of Peachios. It was fabulous. The biggest bag of Peachios I've ever seen. It was so delicious.
Yeah, he outdid me that year, too, because we had just, a week before discussed how we were both going to start dieting.
Yeah, I did not. I ate all those Peachios.
Yeah, so your dad's a bit of a bad influence, too.
He just knows how happy candy makes me, and he likes to see me happy. Candy makes me much happier than exercising makes me, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm aware.
But it does sound like OP is just being a dad and taking care of his daughter, and he's never going to stop being her dad. So boyfriend just needs to accept that and get with the program.
Am I the asshole for not playing dumb on a double date?
I don't even know what that means.
This happened years ago, but I told the story recently, and some of my friends acted like I was an asshole. I used to work with this girl, Chelsea, who would tell me that she always thought I would be a good fit for her friend Nicole. Every time she said this, it felt like she had no idea we had had this conversation before, and I was actively getting better at navigating the conversation. For example, I had gone from, is she cute, to, what do we have in common? And she had gone from rolling her eyes to telling me that we're both tall.
Wow. Match made in heaven. They're both tall. They belong together.
Chelsea is very attractive, and her friends match, including this stereotypically very attractive tall blonde named Nicole. And I really wanted Chelsea to follow through with setting us up. But she never did while we worked together.
I'm just wondering if maybe Nicole didn't want to be set up with OP.
That's what I would assume if nothing happened after I said, yeah, set us up, and it never happened. I'd be like, oh, well, it didn't work out. But Chelsea keeps bringing it up.
Yeah, repeatedly. She's like a goldfish. She doesn't remember she already talked to you about this.
Fast forward a few years and I run into her again. Chelsea is working at this high-end liquor store near my office, and I see her from time to time. She mentions Nicole again, says we would be a great fit, and this time I really push for the setup. She tells me the same spiel about how Nicole is also tall, and we have the same sense of humor. She's a waitress at a nice restaurant nearby, as well as other interests. Chelsea even tells me that she remembers one day I chatted her up about The Walking Dead at work, and after work she was hanging out with Nicole, who basically repeated everything I had said earlier. We exchanged numbers, and later that day she tells me a time and place. The plan is for Chelsea, her fiancé, Nicole, and myself. I creep her social medias, and it's pretty obvious it's the wildly out of my league Nicole.
See, she is out of his league. She doesn't want to date him. I think she just was never into being set up on a blind date, and Chelsea kept pushing it, and Nicole's like, no, absolutely not.
The morning of, she tells me we need to postpone. It sucks, but it happens, and we schedule it for the following week. Same place. I come prepared, new haircut, new outfit, studied the menu, everything I could think of to put my best foot forward, and I am introduced to a very different Nicole. This Nicole is short, fairly overweight, works at a daycare. I can tell from everyone's reaction that I am visibly disappointed.
Ooh. I do not like the bait and switch of the Nicoles, but I feel bad for this new Nicole. You're visibly disappointed.
Yeah, that is rough for new Nicole. It can be awfully hard to school your expression, though, when just a different person turns up, right?
Yeah, it's surprising. How do you not show your surprise, right?
I decide to go through with the date, but I just keep bringing the conversation back to what I knew about her. Asking questions like, when did you get bored with The Walking Dead? How long have you been a waitress? And, oh, Chelsea mentioned you have been friends since you were kids?
Okay, this is asshole behavior. This is obviously not the same Nicole. You know, because you creeped her on social media, and you're just bringing up and pretending that she's still the same Nicole. You're making this Nicole feel so awkward.
OP is absolutely taking it out on new Nicole, isn't he?
This probably isn't new Nicole's fault. She probably didn't even know she was new Nicole.
We're even calling her new Nicole. Poor Nicole. Chelsea was trying her best to talk her way around it, but Nicole was visibly upset.
Well, yeah, because you're an asshole.
The girls went to the bathroom, and the fiancé asked me what the fuck I was doing, and I told him that Chelsea obviously meant to set me up with someone else. He said she did, but Nicole kept asking to postpone and clearly wasn't interested.
Yeah, because she's out of your league.
So she found someone else more in my league.
Oh, burn.
I gave him a sharp look, and he followed with, okay, she found another Nicole.
I do think that it is super weird that she just didn't tell you, hey, it's not going to work out and we're not having this double date. And instead, she went and found a new Nicole. How hard is it to find a new Nicole?
I don't know, like, Nicole's a fairly common name, but just admit that it didn't work out. And say, like, I've got another friend I could hook you up with, and then show up with new Nicole.
Yeah, or, you know, someone who's not a Nicole. Just be like, I got another friend I could hook you up with. Someone completely unrelated to Nicole in any way.
Yeah, it's just wild to try to cover up the fact that Nicole didn't want to go on this date to that extent and drag someone else into it.
Like, why did Chelsea think that the only thing that you would remember that she told you about this person was their name? I just need a Nicole. Any single Nicole will do. Doesn't have to be tall, doesn't have to be into The Walking Dead, doesn't have to be a waitress, just needs to be a Nicole.
That's very true. Chelsea's entire solution was just to find another Nicole, not look through her other friends and be like, who else might OP be a good match for?
It's so weird.
As if OP cared about what her name was.
Yeah, that's the important thing. I must date a Nicole.
But having said all that, sure as hell does not excuse OP's behavior on that date.
No, he was wildly, overly rude.
If he didn't want to do the damn date, he could have shook Nicole's hand and said, hey, I'm sorry, it seems like there's been a mix-up, and I'm going to back out of the date. You could have politely declined the date, or you could just not be an ass, enjoy the dinner with her, try to get to know her a little, and then not do a second date.
Yeah, there are many ways that this could have gone a lot more politely on his end.
Yeah, he did not have to bully Nicole because of Chelsea.
I mean, maybe Chelsea needs some bullying, but he wasn't doing that. I feel so bad for new Nicole. And I'm still calling her new Nicole, but I feel so bad for her.
Everyone in the Reddit comments is also calling her new Nicole. So
Okay.
Don't feel too bad. None of us can stop.
Also, have we said Nicole so many times now that it's starting to sound weird?
Well, don't worry. All of the comments are going to say the word Nicole just as often as we did.
Okay.
Top comment, everyone sucks here except the new Nicole. Somebody replied, justice for new Nicole.
Yes, justice for new Nicole. We need to get her a date with a good, polite man who will appreciate her.
And friends that don't throw her under a bus like this.
Yes. Also, I would be so mad at Chelsea if I was new Nicole.
I would be furious if I was just a substitute on this date.
I wonder if she knew going in that she was a substitute, or was like, she's super confused at the restaurant. What do you mean I'm a waitress? I'm not a waitress. I work at a daycare. What do you mean I like The Walking Dead? I've never watched that show.
I mean, she must have figured out that something was off while she was being upset about all this, because OP was obviously dropping some signs there.
I really want to know when the ladies went to the restroom what was said. Because if I was Nicole, I would have words for Chelsea.
Yeah, either Chelsea was consoling Nicole for the way that her date is acting, or Nicole is yelling at Chelsea for the way her date is acting. Somebody asks, why does no one care that this poor man was duped on purpose by the friend and coworker? To which someone replied, because he still treated new Nicole poorly, even though it wasn't her fault. That's why everyone is empathizing more with new Nicole than OP. Everyone sucks here except new Nicole.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It is 100% not okay that Chelsea pulled a switch like this on him. But there are ways to be graceful about it and polite and like a decent human being, and this was not it.
Justice for new Nicole.
Yeah, hashtag justice for new Nicole.
You're the asshole. This new Nicole didn't deserve to be embarrassed. She probably didn't know what was going on, and you went out of your way to be weird to teach your former coworker a lesson. You could have made some excuse to leave the date early. You could have just had dinner with friends and their +1, and then told off the coworker later. You could have rolled with it and maybe met a really nice person. But you chose whatever that was. Real Nicole was right to blow this whole thing off.
Wait, why does the other one get to be real Nicole and this one's new Nicole? That doesn't seem fair. I mean, although you don't want to call her old Nicole, that doesn't sound very nice either.
They're turning into like Coke and new Coke. Poor new Nicole.
But back to that comment, yeah, I feel like OP is being an asshole trying to teach Chelsea a lesson about, pulling a switch on him like that. It's like, you're never going to see her again anyways because you were just coworkers and you haven't seen her in years and you just happened to bump into her. You don't need to stay friends with her, just don't need to teach her a lesson. And you definitely don't need to do it at the expense of new Nicole.
What an uncool situation. Everyone sucks here except Nicole 2.
Nicole 2.0.
If you did not make her feel uncomfortable, you would not be the asshole. You could have acted nice and normal. She has no guilt in this. Someone replied, and Nicole won. She didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, both the Nicoles are innocent.
Yeah, and I totally don't even blame Nicole 1 or...
Nicole Prime.
Yeah, and I totally don't even blame Nicole 1 or Nicole Prime or whatever we're calling her. Because, it's totally valid and okay to be like, no, I do not want to be set up on a date with your old coworker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you don't even have to give a reason. Just I don't want to go on that date. That is your choice. So yeah, everyone sucks here, except for the Nicoles.
I don't know. Does Chelsea's fiance suck? Because I'm not sure how involved he was in this setup process. Did he just show up for this double date and then suddenly this guy's acting like a huge asshole? He did call him out on being an asshole, but I think that's a good thing.
I don't know. That last line was okay, she found a Nicole. So he at least knew beforehand what Chelsea was up to.
Okay, that is a good point, yeah.
And he either was unable to stop Chelsea or he did not give Nicole a heads up. He kind of falls in the everyone sucks here category, in my opinion, even if he's not as extreme as the other two.
Yes, I agree. He's an asshole, but he might just be a little bit of an asshole because he just went along with it, kind of.
I feel like I need to put a counter up on the screen of how many times we said Nicole. All right, that's our last story for this episode of Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet.
Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.